I think this is all the same, or going together at least. Let's just do one at a time. They showed me somebody who I know they're a result of their circumstance. We all are, to a degree. It's they're deep in the matrix, although they would like to think they're not at all, but they are the poster board for it. And meaning they are run on such a default setting, but so unconscious that they think they're conscious. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not aware of everything they do and say, and their entire life screams that they were like set up to fail almost. But they also I don't trust them. And you really can't trust somebody who is on autopilot. They think they're thinking on their own, but they're not. They are living in such a mentality of lack that they're the ones that'll get real scrappy, and they also don't realize they're the scrappy dog for somebody else. They think they're getting it and standing up for themselves, but they're not. They're just the mouthpiece. And I don't trust their implanter, right? Like their parent. So I can't trust them. But it's a shame because you can see they haven't discovered themselves yet at all. And so they don't recognize the robot they are. And so it's sad when you can see it that way, right? And so then they were saying it's like the idea of generational curse breaking, right? Where it's you're paying for your father's sins until you break the beliefs. But most people can't see them, and most people still think of a belief as like a religious term or something. Really, there's a lot of people that still hear that word and their mind is so closed off and so narrow-minded that they can't even hear broader meanings. They have their regurgitated autopilot singular understanding, and so it's too mind-blowing for even that, which is kind of comical, right? But it's true. And So anyway, they were showing me this person, and so I can see that, so I also have pity on them, but I don't want them anywhere near me. I can't trust them. And it's because they haven't done their work, and their parents haven't done their work, and their parents never did their work, right? It was just, it's like they're bred into the matrix, but that's what people mean. It's like they have handlers. Well, their parents are their handler, and their parents are their handler, and they just become that robot. They're part of that system. They are feeding the people way above them. They don't realize that. It's kind of like what we've talked about, where it's a beautiful thing that the robots are coming in and taking over so many of those menial jobs. The problem is the people who have been doing those jobs didn't recognize they were robots and are very much run on ego. And when that gets smashed, they'll either not be able to survive because they've never been able to think outside the matrix. So they don't know how to be authentically themselves. And so it's almost like naturally die off. Or they'll love themselves enough to bust through it all. But saying it that way makes it sound so much simpler than it really is. Because it is a mental game. And it can tear you to shreds if you've always been narrow-minded or operating 100% from ego and clinging. Because all those egos, all those identities will start to get stripped. And it burns, right? It can feel like it's burning. It's a beautiful thing and a beautiful process, but when you're in it, you can find it not so beautiful. But I guess maybe that is the thing too. Then you really get to see the real from the fake. You'll really be able to see the truth, which in itself can be jarring, especially to those on the outside, right? Like those who have busted through and were pulling for you only discover that the idea of like you're from the devil. Like, no, you like being in your ego and you like being in your south node, you like being whatever, and you're not going to make it through. Wow, I thought your core was love and it's not, right? Like you start to see these things. There was something else. But once you make it through, you do start anew, like you do start fresh, where you no longer have to, it is the idea of pay for your father's sins, because you no longer believe the bullshit they did or operate from the ego like they did. But you are still responsible for you. It's not like, oh, we're floating in bliss. Although that's what it feels like. You hear me say that all the time. They literally have me floating right now, it feels like. I feel like there was something else. I think did I bridge those two gaps where it was like this person is still paying for their quote father's sins, right? Their inherited ego, their inherited narcissism, but they can't see it. They think they're very clever. They think they're very smart. They think they're, because that was what was implanted in them. They haven't been able to step out to see, like the fool they really are. Like they look like a fool to so many, but they can't see that because they're so in their ego. It's the idea we've talked about, arrogance and confidence. It's the idea of like they can't hear and see, right? Like they can't actually hear and see. And so it's like you can't trust somebody like that, even though you can have pity and feel bad for them because you recognize where they're at. They don't. So showing them pity or playing party to their games, because they'll try to manipulate, they'll try to do all types of things. You'll quickly see, especially when you don't fall to their manipulation, they will lose their shit. They will literally have an adult tantrum. Because they're literally operating on virtually 100% ego. Anything that you think is heart, a lot of times, is manipulation from people like that. This is the idea of like they don't even know themselves. They don't know. It's the idea of they don't know God. They don't know themselves. They don't know whatever. This is why you hear a lot of people talk about, a lot of religious people are like that. And it talks about that in the Bible. But they can't see they're the hypocrite. They can't see they're not close to God. They don't understand any of that. That's not, and they truly don't. I mean, I was there at one point. Like it's not in their conscious awareness at all. Because they're clinging to the identity of being good, of being religious, of being righteous. But again, until you go through it, until they actually go through it, they'll never get it, they'll never see it, they'll never understand it. So it's like more torment and torture the more people that wake up and their refusal to do such. They won't understand. They'll think everybody else is bad. They'll think everybody else is going to the devil. They'll think everybody else, do you see what I'm saying? Like it's like they're flipped upside down but unaware of it. And then when you're awakened and you remain in those environments, it is the mind fuck of all mind fucks, because you constantly gaslight yourself and you're constantly thinking you're the problem. And it's like, no, you were always awake, but you were around those who were dead asleep and wanted to control you and keep you asleep, but they weren't aware that that's what they were doing. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like it's such a mind fuck of which you have to be careful. this is why you only have to worry about yourself, because there's a lot of people who even understand that dynamic. It's the idea of like waking up and some people choosing, quote, the dark side, where they become more conscious to the dynamics and the understanding of things, and they still choose the less than. And it's like, because what? They just never fully experienced the greater than. And it's just easier. It's easier to accept the less than because it requires effort and conscious choices and focused thought to stay on the right path or in the light or choose, the higher timeline. Like all these ways to say the same thing, but it's basically operating from your heart versus your ego, versus an identity, versus worrying about how others will perceive you. And that really takes continued focus of staying in the present moment and not allowing your mind to jump all over the place. Yeah. I do feel like there was something else. It was the one person who it was actually a few people, but felt bad for them, but don't trust them at all. And they've proven I can't, because they absolutely are. It's the idea of in the matrix or under their parents' spell, or, it's like all these just blind, deaf and dumb, but think they're geniuses. They're a bunch of cackling idiots. Hyenas. Sorry, they're showing pictures everywhere. It's like they're hyenas, like going at it. Now they're like tearing each other apart, because that's what they do. That's what happens when you're in your ego. It's like they play in the muck. They're in it for the drama of it and don't recognize it. And it's like they just familiarize themselves so much with that mudslinging that they love it. And a few of them love watching it, right? They think they're the puppet masters of it. It really can be such a sick. You have to love yourself so much that you get yourself out of that dynamic, even though it's like the crabs in the barrel. Thank you. It's like once you start to get a taste of peace and true bliss, you're like, oh God. But it is like you have to fight for it and protect it, because you're still familiar with the old pattern of getting sucked back into the drama or the chaos. So it depends on where you are in your timeline to understand that. I still feel like there was more. I think there was something else I was supposed to talk about with this. I think it had to do with the last ones I uploaded, but I think they played in beginning of August. I don't know when this will come out. The gap is closing quite quickly now, though, so maybe this will come out even in August, because we're still in August. I think it was that idea of talking about when all the egos are smashed and everybody starts to go through that, and how it'll be that idea of pandemonium, just because it's painful, that mental battle. Nothing could be happening on the outside, but because of the torture inside, people could go wacky on the outside and not make it through. But it's so beautiful if you do. Real choice. I don't think people really know the real freedom of choice. Again, simply because of the programming and not breaking the generational curses or the limiting beliefs that were passed down. There's many ways you can say the exact same thing. Be careful with how you do such, because some people, like me, for the longest time, like some of those words would freak me out because they would sound wackadoodle or they would sound whatever. And it's like, they're not. They're just a different way of saying the exact same thing. It's just not the familiar way to me. It wasn't familiar to say curses or this or that, because it just sound woo-woo or silly nonsense, but it just simply means it's a passed down limiting belief that your family's never been able to see or break because it lived steep in it. And so until you're willing to face your shadow and look at your blind spot and see that horror that's inside of you and tame that monster, break that beast so that you are now riding it and in charge, then you'll forever be run by it. Okay, there's still something else. If they show me again, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.